Hi everyone, welcome to my channel and welcome to this special reading. Today we're going to be talking about winter solstice. Happy winter solstice. It's happening as we speak. This is the shortest day of the year, the longest night in the northern hemisphere, of course. And starting tomorrow, it's all going to be shifting the other way. So the day it's gonna be getting longer, it's gonna be gaining momentum. But right now, in this energy, we are being asked to slow down, to listen, and to reflect. Where we are, why we're there. And I would say for me personally, today we'll do a reading, of course. I brought other decks today, so that's a biggie today. I brought some Christmas lights to create a mood. I think I could really connect to the energy of the winter solstice the most when I went to Sweden last year. And I was in central Sweden, so it wasn't like, the polar night where you don't have daylight at all. But daylight was so limited. It literally would last between like 9 a.m. and 2:30 p.m. in winter time. It changes your perspective immediately. It's contrasting enough for you to see and to understand even better people of Sweden, the way their lifestyle, their attitude towards light, the way they decorate their houses with those lights in the windows in winter. For them, that's their traditional decoration. It's not just Christmas decoration, it's winter time decoration. They have a lot of them look like candles, some of them look like stars. They're in the window so that it gives light to people who are outside in the dark. And there's just so much of symbolism there. So I want us to get to the reading, of course, so I will let you ponder it for yourself. What does light mean to you? What does lack of light mean to you, for that matter? And of course, winter solstice is such a great way to look at it because it's a very vivid, it's an immediate resonance, right? Because you can see, and you probably can compare to how you feel in winter when it gets dark so early in the day compared to summer when days are very long. There's a lot more sunshine in your day, right, in your experience. And not just because it technically lasts longer, but also because you have that opportunity, right? Regardless of whether you have 9-to-5 job or you're doing something else, for most of us, our most productive time is during the day. But if we stay inside, let alone if we for some reason don't have windows around us, it steals that time from us, right? Even if we're looking, we can see the light through the window. It's not the same as being outside in the sun. And whether we like to admit it or not, but our lives at this point in the evolution of humanity is a lot more focused on the inside than on the outside. A lot more jobs are inside. So it takes an extra effort to connect with the daylight and with that power of the sun and the light. So with all that said, I'm gonna move to the reading. I will pull a couple of oracle cards for us. This is the Cosmic Journey Oracle. I had to remind myself because I haven't used it for a while. So I will pull a couple of cards that are gonna be themes. And you know what? This deck is special and it has a different group of cards to go with them. I don't ever really use them, but I feel called to do it today, especially because I brought them with me. And they give us, there is an exercise, there's a guidebook to this deck for those who are interested. You may check it out for yourself. There is a big connection of this deck with the journaling practice. Even with the regular cards of the regular reading, they give you, if you look up the cards in the book, they give you different journaling prompts, and how you can take it forward for your journaling practice. So if you're just starting your journaling habit and it's hard for you to just like start writing things up from scratch, or it looks like just dictating different events for yourself, which is not really the point of journaling. It's still a good practice, but Journaling goes far beyond just, writing down what happened to you on a certain day. This could be a really great way to start because it gives you great prompts. But so the other group of cards, they look like this. They give you different perspectives. And there is also a separate exercise for that in the book, which we're not going to do right now. But because it gives us different roles, let's put them that way, I will pull a card from this deck, this little deck first, to see what is the persona, what is the role that we should be embracing at this time, and we're looking at our current situation. And then I'll pull 2 cards from the main deck to see what the message is for that persona, for that role. And then we'll do the tarot card, of course, the tarot card reading. Sorry, guys. And for that, I have 3 questions to ask today. First question is going to be, how is the energy shifting? What does it mean for my own personal growth? The second question is going to be, how this energy shift, how this milestone changing my connections to others, my relationships, my interactions. And the third one is going to be call to action, essentially guidance on how to make the best out of this time. But first, let's do this. Not looking, just pulling the persona. Your 11-year-old self. Oh, this is cute. This is actually this is the card that was on top of this deck when I saw it and I got this idea. So I guess that was supposed to be the message, right? You can treat it as your inner child, but obviously not like the very young child, but a little bit older, right? So this is like graduating from elementary school, middle school kind of age, to give you an idea. But yeah, definitely big time. We talk a lot about our experience in the first 5 years of our life, 7 years, that those are the identity building ones, and that's where all that core wounding happened and like core events that shaped us. And I believe in it. Thank you. Yes, I agree. But it doesn't mean that that's when it all ended and then that's it, right? And I don't know about you guys, but I've noticed that for myself, and I've noticed that with some of the clients that I worked with, that a lot of their character building events happened essentially between age of 10 and age of 16. That's where a lot of trauma sits that we don't necessarily look at because we're trying to look way back into our toddler age, what happened in our family, what were our parents like. And this is the age between 10 and 16 when we are becoming a little more independent, right? We probably don't have parents like take us to school every day. We're either taking a bus or walking or, doing something ourselves. We are starting to have sleepovers with friends, maybe going on school trips without our parents. Of course, it doesn't mean that you're unsupervised, but it kind of detaches you from that inner environment where you're always cared for and, looked after by your immediate family, right? You are taken out of that, and it opens you up to so many more experiences. And of course, your natural growth, maturity, the amount of information you are open to with your school, with outside of school life, it all creates potential for so many new experiences on a completely different level. Okay, so 2 cards, please. What are the themes for this winter solstice for us to look at as our 11-year-old self? First one is say yes to the open door, to your open door. So there is some kind of opportunity that's coming in, and it may feel intimidating. See it as an 11-year-old and see a different perspective. Why it's actually the most exciting thing that happened to you, right? Or why you shouldn't disregard it as something foolish that is a waste of time right now. No, what would your 11-year-old say to that, right? And then look at it with new eyes and say yes to that open door. The other one is you cannot pour from an empty cup. Yeah, so this is a bit on the 5 of Cups kind of vibe, right? That it's important to look into your grievances, sadness, feeling of loss, Maybe you remember something that you've lost, or this feeling that you've experienced when you were 11. And by the way, it doesn't have to be like dramatic, like, I don't know, maybe you lost a friend or somebody passed away that you loved. It could be as simple as there was a school trip at the end of the year that you didn't get to go on. And that was at the time a very big loss for you. Or, I don't know, maybe your friend said something hurtful to you, something that put you down, something that changed your perspective of what friendship is about, or how they see you, right? And it was never the same, or you got in your head about it, whether it was your character, personality, your looks, anything. So yeah, it's important to tend to those feelings and to remember that as an adult now, you're supposed to provide that nurture, safety, love for yourself, right? How can you show up for your 11-year-old self right now and fill that void with love and care and reassurance, Beautiful, I love it. All right, with all that said, let's move on to our tarot reading. This is the Spellcaster Tarot deck, by the way. I brought a couple of other decks too with me, so you'll have on this trip. So over the holidays, I will be recording January horoscopes, of course, so you can expect some new and exciting decks that I'll be using there. They're not brand new necessarily, but they're gonna be those that I haven't used in a long time. Okay, so first we're looking at how is this energy shift impacting ourselves, our personal growth. Two of Wands. I planned for this to be a relatively brief read, so I'll probably speak on all three cards per question at a time once I lay out the spread. The Fool and the King of Wands. Very interesting. The second question was, how is this this milestone impacting relationships and connections in my life? Queen of Pentacles. Death. Pretty big impact, right? Queen of Swords. Okay, very interesting. It's feminine energies. And then finally, what is the call to action? What is the advice? Sun. Yes, I love it. To me, that resonates very much with that. And actually, look at the colors. It was the Say to the Open Door card, and on behalf of your 11-year-old. Say yes to that dream that, your 11-year-old would be thrilled about. Ten of Swords and Ace of Pentacles. All right. Bottom of the deck, the Devil. Yeah, so you know what? In the dark, it's not for, it's not a coincidence that a lot of the evil forces, or like even think Halloween and like all the scary stuff, all those characters, they pretty much function in the dark, right? Because that's when you cannot see and you don't have that confidence, or like anybody could be around, in those horror movies, like those attacks happen at night 99% of the time, right? Because you can't see who's approaching you, who's about to attack you, things like that. And a lot of the plot is built on that, right? And so it brings out our fears, let's put it that way, without going too much into detail, but it brings out, with the Devil here, it brings out the fears of taking action, and it also sometimes brings out that fight or flight effect, where we act out of fear, where we rush to conclusion, and we do something, just to get back to safety, just in case somebody is gonna attack us, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, right? That doesn't necessarily serve us. So I feel like winter solstice is helping us also embrace some of those fears that we have when we are in the dark, literally or figuratively. So all in all, in terms of the personal impact, I see that this milestone provides like a stepping stone, a viewpoint. If you're looking at this cliff, for example, it provides a viewpoint. And look at this, it has the sun and the moon here in the picture. It provides a really nice viewpoint between the realms, between the worlds. So like what has been before and what are we walking into. You can look at it a little bit as of like a yearly progress, maybe, since we're at the end of the year, calendar year, if it's easier for you, right? however you see this cycle, the bigger cycle for yourself. For some people, it could be several years. I recently realized I'm closing out the big 12-year cycle, and that's what I'm looking into these days. But this is that kind of milestone, quite literally. By the way, the word milestone comes from an actual big rock that existed in ancient days, right? That, people would put, like, I think it's from ancient Rome times. They would put it in the ground at some point. That would be like, and at some point they literally were like pretty much every mile they had them. This would be a milestone, and then another milestone, and then another milestone. That's how they knew the distance. So they're like these huge rocks. So, this is like, if you think about that rock and maybe if you step on it, right, like you can see a lot more, a lot bigger perspective around you. And that's the opportunity that we're given now to understand better what are we choosing between, what do those choices mean in our life, this way or that way, and who do I choose to be with too, right? And since this is personal growth, even like these people around you, they're the reflection of who you are, right? And it's like, what does it tell you about you? The wonderful and the ugly in people around you, something that you're impressed by, and something that maybe you're angry about or jealous about. See how that reflects on you, and what does it tell you about where you are at this point in your life. Now, for the connections, we have two queens and death card. The pentacles, the swords, and this is very much, the pentacles and the swords is this kind of earthly realm. This is the action and the words, right? This is like really how we express ourselves. And so there is a big change, obviously, the transformation. And I like this metaphor of death, first because of the darkness that we're talking about, right? But also because of that feeling of loss that I was talking about at the beginning, that something is left behind and we are now in a new transformative self. So to me, all these cards basically come to the point where we are supposed to declare who we are boldly, and put our fear behind, if anything, right? And it doesn't mean to be rude or cruel or forceful, right? But still stand strong in our ground of what our values are, what we stand for, and how we want to build our life, essentially, right? How do we see this? A blueprint, right? What is the vision? And if it changed from what it was 2 years ago, and you're thinking, well, maybe my partner will leave me now that I have a different view, the buzzer buzzes here. that's the transformation part. And who knows, maybe they feel the same way. You just haven't really talked about it. Maybe both of you are scared, but it's very important to declare this time to people around you who you are, especially if you know that something about you has changed quite a bit from what they used to know. And if you're not sure, then you can definitely tell through the conversation, but just take note of it. Where do you feel suddenly that there is a disconnect, or they're referencing your past behavior, your experience together, that for you, is not relevant anymore. It's not you, but they are. You can see that they are judging the situation, or they're looking at you from that perspective still. And of course, then it's up to you to explain and to let them know and to walk them through this, or to basically decide for yourself, you know what, the more I listen to this and I talk to them, I understand that we are very much apart right now, and there is a big gap, and it's a point to revisit the closeness and the quality of friendship that we have, and whether you want to continue. Action, call to action. The Sun, Ten of Swords, and Ace of Pentacles is definitely a sign that there's gonna be a lot more sunshine starting tomorrow in our life. Well, not maybe a lot more, but it's gonna be more and more every single day. We're gonna be adding more sunshine, which brings more vivacity to us, which wakes us up, energizes us, heals us, and gives us stamina for big accomplishments. So whatever those projects that you've been nurturing, that you've been thinking about, you've been brainstorming, it's important to start taking action at this time, right? Start, even if action means start making phone calls, right? Or turn your notes in your notebook into maybe a presentation on your computer that you can actually present to investors, I don't know, or share with your audience in a workshop or something like that. Like, take that next step. You don't have to figure out when are you doing workshops, how to get people to attend, marketing around it. But if you already have notes, the next step is organizing it into something more solid that you can then shape and use in whatever environment you need. The Ten of Swords is just a reminder that, of course, there's always a risk of getting hurt. But if anything, it helps you understand what works for you and what doesn't work for you. It's like that compass, that immediate feedback that you understand, like, okay, this is not my way. And the more you go through this, the more you start picking up on signals early on. So you don't have to get to all the way to the Ten of Swords when you're beaten down and now it takes a while to stand up and continue, right? And recover from that pain, right? You'll be better and better telling that this is not for me, or that is gonna hurt me, or this feels scary, so I better walk away before it gets to this, right? Trust in your instincts, trust in your intuitive guidance, maybe guidance from your higher power, picking up on those signals and those signs and synchronicities. So you have that with you. So do not let the past failure or past pain stop you from moving forward and opening up to sunshine more. And for some of you, it's important to be more outside in the sunshine, as much as in winter, especially. I'm talking now, and it's pretty cold in New York, and it may feel kind of distorted of like, why would we go outside if it's so cold and windy, right? But it is very important, and there is a very big difference between enjoying the indoor lighting of any kind, even if you have LED lamps and all that stuff, and actually being outside in the sun. Of course, if you are in unfavorable weather conditions, maybe you have a chance to go to a different place that would have like maybe a more tropical place that would take you into summer and into that prime energy of the sun that warms you up. You can feel it on your skin, maybe even in your bones, and you can fully enjoy it and feel the healing power of the sun energy. And as you get back home, you'll appreciate it 100 times more, I promise you. Okay, with all that said, I'm gonna finish here. Thank you so much for being with me, guys. Happy winter solstice. I'll be back again very, very soon with new readings. And until next time, bye.